In the aftermath of the public revolts and protests in North Africa, most eyes are now turning to the Persian Gulf, which is the home of most of the world's maritime oil exports. We are not concerned in the manner of most observers of this region. From our point of view, the Iranian production is perfectly safe because the Iranians are brutally capable of policing their own. Our concern is that the Iranians will take advantage of this situation and this newfound obsession with protests to encourage Shia minorities throughout the entire western rim of the Persian Gulf to rebel against their political masters. In particular, we're concerned about Kuwait, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia. No surprise that the Middle East is a desert region. Most of the energy assets, as a result, are not in densely populated areas. So, as a rule, having social instability in the western side of the Persian Gulf does not affect a huge number of specific assets. A couple of good examples are the North Field in Qatar, which is the world's largest single natural gas field. It's offshore. The production comes onshore in a relatively unpopulated area. It's not under any threat. Another good example is the Kirkuk field of northern Iraq. It is in a more populated area, but the population is Kurdish, so there's very little in terms of local instability that can interfere with its production and exports. But there are three absolutely critical exceptions to that general rule. Three major oil-producing basins that are in or very close to populated areas, areas that are Shia majority, and where their export points are in similar zones. The first are the Rumalia fields of southern Iraq. This is a major producing basin that generally has an output of about 2 million barrels per day. It's right at the edge of Basra, it's right at the edge of the Shia population zone of southern Iraq, and the oil pipelines that take it to market take it just south of Basra and out to the Persian Gulf. Definitely something to keep an eye on. The second zone is the Bergen field and its surrounds in southern Kuwait, just south of Kuwait City. Like the Rumalia field in Iraq, this is in the more populated parts of Kuwait, just south of the capital, and the pipes that take it to the sea go directly through those populated zones. Now, the population in Kuwait is more mixed in this region than the Shia zone of Iraq, but still, right on the coast, predominantly Shia population. The third, and the most important by far, is the Ghawar superfield of eastern Saudi Arabia. This one field is responsible for 5 million barrels per day of production, as a general rule. Also, the three major terminals that bring Ghawar's oil to market are all on the densely populated Shia sections of the western coast of the Persian Gulf in Saudi Arabia. Now, luckily, should these areas experience considerable protests, there are a couple of options for bringing the crude to market without going through the Shia-controlled ports. Iraq has a pipeline called IPSA, which travels from the Rumalia fields south into Saudi Arabia and then west to the Red Sea, terminating at the port of Yanbu. The Saudis themselves have their own pipeline, which starts in Ghawar, travels west, parallels the IPSA line also to Yanbu. This petro line can handle about 5 million barrels per day, the entire production of Ghawar. Now, neither of these are perfect substitutes. The IPSA line was closed down in 1991 during the first Persian Gulf conflict and hasn't been reopened since, so it's unclear at what capacity, or if any at capacity, can be used and over what sort of time horizon. Second, you do have the petro line that allows the Saudis to export 5 million barrels a day through their western ports, but that's only enough to cover about half of what is actually produced in the eastern provinces. The rest of it simply doesn't have another way out. Now, it's important to keep this in perspective. To this point, there has not been a single documented case of protesters attacking a piece of energy infrastructure anywhere in North Africa or the wider Middle East. But the rules of the game have changed. We are now less concerned about popular protests than we are about the Iranians instigating events. And for the Iranians, taking out an oil competitor is a perfectly legitimate course of action from their point of view. And in this case, we've got roughly 10 million barrels per day at potential risk.